Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and with me today are subject matter expert Shor Denny of Community Now, and this is the 3 Cs of social emotional learning, SEL. And the 3 Cs are collaboration, communication, and community. And what we're doing today, once again, is talking about what's going on in our community. How does it apply to social emotional learning, and particularly our young people? Sure, we're going to go into some very treacherous grounds today
Ooh,
as we look at COVID-19, consequences and repercussions.
man.
So without further ado, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right in and get us moving
Go.
because something really unique happened in the last week or so. In California, for the entire state, all the counties in the purple tier, which is nearly all of them, as determined by the availability of hospital beds in the middle of our pandemic. But these purple tier counties are under a stay at home order. How are our school age youth even finding out about this order? I mean, it affects them. How do they even know?
Unless they're getting it on social media. I mean, one way that we all knew was I'm not sure how broad it was, but I know in Riverside that we all got an alert, over our phone, a severe warning, and it told us that we were on a stay-at-home alert, and that it had started and not to go anywhere. So that would be one way, right? That I think that our leaders are trying to make sure everyone knows, because I think they see the problem. But other than that, I think that our youth are finding out uh, either on social media, through Snapchat, things like that, or through word of mouth coming from their families, as they're trying to deal with what to do in this new stay-at-home order.
I find it interesting that they find it through their social media, but that's to be expected. And technically, when you think about the alert that went out to the entire state, that's literally what we did. That's what works. I get a little less certain when you compound that with what you're hearing from your family, because those are different sources, because there are different articles and different outlets that are putting their spin and their agenda on it. And again, our youth are trying to figure all of this out. How do they even start processing that when it's coming from their parents who they allegedly ignore, but seem to hear everything they say?
Exactly, huh? Yeah. Um, I don't think it came as a surprise for anyone that is, staying not even on top of it, anyone that's like just plugging in, occasionally watching the news. I think this is something that we all saw coming, because we saw that COVID was getting, more popular, I guess we could say. It's all over the place now. So but I think that each family is dealing with it differently. I would see some families where they are now back off work, right? Having to depend on the unemployment system. I think the conversation in that home is going to be different than the conversation in the home of maybe the federal employee that's gonna still work, right? Or the school teacher that's gonna still do distance learning. I think it's going to be a different conversation. But I still think that there's a problem, as you're saying, in the translation of not the translation of it, in the employment of it, in doing it, and what are we actually going to do. I think now has come down to each individual household, rather than it being a plan that's coming from our leaders down to us. The governor is trying to close California right now, as far as doing the stay-at-home order. I did not mean close California, the stay-at-home order. But if we don't stay at home, and if places are open for us to go to, the temptation to go there is much bigger, right? With the stay at home. So I think it goes into enforcement is really going to be something that the youth are going to be looking at. Is this or is this not enforced, and how is it enforced?
I think that is so essential. I mean, I think there's a generation that assumes because this has come from the authorities, it is an enforceable order. And that's just not how the world is working. And this new normal will enduring. 2020 has given us a lot of crazy things, and this is one of them. You know, when you look at the facts, the sheriffs of LA County, which is the state's most populous county, and San Bernardino County, which is the state's largest geographically county, they have both publicly said that they will not enforce the stay at home order.
Right.
You know, what exactly does that mean for our community?
Chaos is what it means. And I think that the leaders that started this, that was their plan. I think this is going along the plan. But what it means down to us, as it filters down to us, is chaos, because everybody's going to do what they want. Some people are, if it feels good, or if their family is a high risk, or if they're, even if their family's high risk, some people aren't paying attention, right? I mean, so I think that if public officials are not going to enforce something like this, if they think that it's something that's unenforceable, something that just physically cannot be done, I could see one thing, but then I think that it would be keep that quiet, because you don't want people to know you can't enforce something, right? You don't want them to know you're that thin. But to say in defiance that I am not going to uphold this, I'm not going to enforce this crazy thing, I'm not going to, then I think we have a real big issue, again, that started at the top, but that we as local citizens need to deal with. Our law enforcement is there to enforce the law. That's really all they do. That's what we pay them for. And I think that if they are not enforcing the law, or if they're choosing which laws to enforce, we as the public have a big problem.
I think what it comes to my mind when we talk about that problem that the public is on the edge of having, is that once our law enforcement starts selectively enforcing laws, it's hard for that to get communicated into the broad public. Can I run a red light or can I not run a red light? To bring it to a very simple case. And then what happens when, well, I'm going to stop you for running a red light, even though it's for another reason, ethnic profiling, but I'll let you run a red light because I don't think you're going to cause any harm. How much power is law enforcement now assuming during this very delicate time in our society?
Think about that a little broader and know that this has been going on since Reconstruction, right? Even before, where laws have been selectively enforced or not. So it's nothing new for the minority groups. We all see this every day. This is something new for the general public. I'm just going to go there. This is something new for everyone to see and to experience, rather than just the minorities of, oh, I can hang this person, but this person I won't, right? I'll shoot this person, but this person I'm going to just stand there and talk them down. Those selective things that our law enforcement does that are in enforcing, but to also that's an interpretation of the law, right? But to literally not do the law, to literally broadcast it, that you are not going to follow the law, then that brings other people's and allows them to not follow the law. Right now, is it a law? I mean, now we've got to go to the basis of everything, right? We got to go to the foundation. What is a law, and how do you follow that, and who enforces those laws? I think it shows the system is broken. The only thing that I add to that is that it's always been, but now we're seeing it in our health, right? We're seeing it as far as how they're looking at the health of the counties that they're overseeing. But before, it was again based on privilege or culture.
One thing that comes to mind with me in this selective law enforcement, particularly in the holiday seasons, part of it comes into retail. You gave an example as we were prepping about a restaurant that realizes that since this is not going to be enforced, we will remain open and continue to conduct business. And believe me, I am not in opposition of business being allowed to perform its function in society. Hire people, pay taxes, things of that nature. Bring culture to the Inland Empire, because we have some great eating places here, and I miss some of them.
Yes.
But what it also does is, well, wait a minute. If we're, now that we're breaking rules, do I have to stop serving alcohol at 2? Can we go to 4? Can we go to 4:30? How about we just go ahead and have mimosas at 7? But now we're selectively allowing business to dictate, based on the favor of law enforcement, where they actually break the law or uphold the laws, and consequently where they break them. Again, what are we teaching our youth as that becomes more apparent? Because those are parents that are going to be out there staying out after hours because, the laws are kind of flexible now.
For the minority families, most of them, this has already been their existence. That they have had laws and they see those laws are not being enforced, right? Their rights are being infringed all the time. Laws are not being enforced. But again, for the general public to see something that is so unfair,
Mm-hmm.
In a country where fairness is supposed to count, where morals are supposed to count, where your ethnic view, and what your ethnic actions, have repercussions. This is all out in an alternate universe. This should never be. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't exist in a lawful, civilized world that we thought we lived in, which was called America.
Wow. So obviously now we're at risk of having mixed signals that we're going to have to navigate both socially and legally. But and those are adult problems. But let's come back to our focus with social emotional learning in our youth and them developing in a functional manner. So from a social emotional learning perspective, where do our children end up emotionally while these mixed signals are being given, specifically with regards to law and their health?
They are going to have to do, as youth, what their families say. They are going to do what and emulate their surroundings. So if the people around them believe in the law, they're going to follow it. If the people around them don't, they won't, is where it's going to come down to, which is the reason we're in this situation now, right? If we would have all worn masks, we might not be where we are today, but there were so many that did not wear masks that we are now back at a stay at home. So I think that, common sense just, one thing that I think the youth are going to see is that there is something here that it's not going away, and that maybe we should follow the orders so it will go away. Might be something. I want to go play with my friends. Let's do what it takes so that I can get back out into the world. There are some trauma-informed processes, and I wanted to start introducing them to our audience. And it's a form called Seeking Safety. They're Seeking Safety skill sheets that you can get online. And again, it's called Safe Coping Skills. You can look them up for Seeking Safety. And there are like 85 different coping skills that you can use, problem solving coping skills that you can implement in your life. And I just kind of looked through here and picked one because every week we're going to be picking one to go with our category. And this week it was number 56, which is take responsibility. Right? So in this situation, a way to reduce your stress, a way to deal with what's happening is to not just let it all happen around you, but to get engaged and to take responsibility. At this point, it would be wear a mask. Work with your youth to help them understand that we are going to be stuck going in and out of these stay-at-homes until we get this illness under control. There is supposed to be a vaccine coming in the spring and in the summer, but for right now, we need to adhere to wearing a mask, taking responsibility, and making a plan of how we can do that with our families. So to reduce stress, to deal with that, take responsibility. Don't let your feelings just fly. Don't let people control your world. Even though we are in a stay at home, we still have control. We still have control of our homes. We have control of how things come in and out of our homes. Don't feel like you've lost control of your world, I think would be the most important thing right now.
Tell you that is incredibly rich. Don't lose control of your world. You know, at the end of the day, we do have choices. We do have laws that need to be enforced, and we have to make choices, and we make moral choices. But the operative word is we have choices. You know, from our perspective, an SEL perspective, our young people are watching the choices we're making because either explicitly or implicitly, they will mimic the choices we are making. And when they choose not to, they will deliberately look in that mirror the other direction and do the exact opposite because that has been presented to them.
Yes.
So, in this crazy time that just seems to get crazier, we get right back to looking at what are our social emotional triggers and how do we continue to get along better with others? How do we use community collaboration and communication to make our society better?
Right now, the main thing that we need to remember, and I say it all the time, is breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Don't react. What we should be understanding by this point is that we do have some control. When you are in a situation, if when you wake up in the morning, and remember that scale that we go through, at the bottom is zero, you're in nirvana, right? At the top, you are freaked out. And where are you in that scale? When you get to about a 5, a 4, you need to start looking at what can I do to bring myself back down? That could be self-care, right? A bath could do it. Going on a walk, maybe getting a break from the kids, going in the car, go sit in the car. Just different things that we can find for ourselves. Or it could be looking at some like safety skills sheets, because these are problem solving support help right here. So for any problems that you are dealing with, you could find some type of an answer on here, just like take control, right? Be involved in what's going on in your life. So stay as calm as you can. Try to breathe as often as you can, and then try to remember that you still have control over so many things, and to use that. Get that bath, get some aromatherapy, drink some warm teas, chamomile, some linden tea, kind of calm you down, and just let's just get through this, right? Because there will be an end. There's some Bible verse that says, "This too shall pass," and it will.
There you have it. Breathe, stay calm. You have some control. But what we're trying to do is just bring this to your attention. Definitely, again, with a focus on our youth as they're developing and navigating this, because they're going to be the ones that will have to be on the other side making decisions sooner than we want to believe.
Yes.
But I thank you, Shor, for the insight that you have brought to this, both from a relaxation standpoint and even some of the legal challenges that are going to be navigated in real time.
Oof.
Imparting 3 Cs of SEL, our subject matter expert, Shor Denny, Glenn W. Hunter, the moderator. And as always, as we wind down, I want to reinforce, be safe. Be safe. Thank you.